stretch run of the MHSAA football season begins tonight. A MAC crossover matchup here on MTJ. Hello again, everybody. I'm Brad Fetters, joined once again by Adam Abraham. Week 6 of the season already. Hard to believe a crossover matchup tonight between the home team, the Dakota Cougars, and the Ford Falcons. And Adam, homecoming night tonight, festivities aplenty. But Dakota really coming off a tough loss last week against their arch rivals, the Big Reds at Chippewa Valley.
And it was a close game. The scoreboard showed 24-17, but it was a lot closer than it seemed. Dakota came in that game and almost doubled up Chippewa Valley on offense, 371 to 202. They played a very good game. They fought back late. They were down 24-7 going into the fourth quarter with about 11 minutes to go, and they fought back with a couple TDs and a field goal to make it close at the end, but couldn't quite close the deal. It's a Dakota team. They fight hard. They get in the trenches. They can run the ball. They can throw it, and they'll get all over you on offense.
As for the Ford Falcons, we saw this team a couple weekends ago against Lance Cruz North. They struggle at times offensively. What can they do here tonight to pull the upset against Dakota?
It's going to be their defense that has to do the job here today. They beat Frazier last week 24-8, and that's courtesy of 3 takeaways on their defensive end. They're quite frankly, they're outmatched here with Dakota with the red-white crossover, but they can come here and compete if their defense comes to play.
Should be an interesting matchup to say the least. Opening kickoff coming up next right here at Macomb Township Government Access.
Macomb County, 27 cities, townships, and villages. From East Point to Memphis, Romeo to New Baltimore. 458 square miles of where you want to be. It's a place where your children can grow, and so can your business. Macomb County's tree-lined borders contain over 12,000 acres of parkland. Its outer edge, 31 miles of freshwater shoreline, both filled each year with countless concerts, festivals, and family reunions. It's the birthplace of advanced technologies that not only instruct future generations, but protect them. Hey, and those are just facts. You can get that from the internet or a book. No. To truly understand what Macomb County is all about, you need to experience it. You need to live here. You need to work here. When you do that, you'll know you're home.
Welcome back to Dakota High School. Brad Fetters alongside Adam Abraham. Dakota versus Henry Ford II. Boys varsity football, week 6 of the MHSAA schedule. Dakota and those home blues here on homecoming. Henry Ford in their road whites. Davy John Steffen and number 7, Matt Love, back deep for Dakota. And Adam, should be an interesting ball game here tonight.
Absolutely.
In less than ideal conditions.
Less than ideal. It's raining. It's been raining. It seemed to start raining the second we went down on the field to talk to our coaches about 60, 75 minutes before this game. We got about a 10 miles an hour wind, but these two teams are ready to go. It's homecoming. Dakota's not going to let the weather stop them.
Temperatures in the high 50s. Really, the wind was blowing straight into this Dakota offense to start things out, and a terrific return out across the 40-yard line by Patrick Marolia. That's where Dakota will put the ball in play for their first possession.
Good run by Marola there to set up Dakota offense in good field position. Not too often you see that starburst move there on the special teams. It's kind of fun to watch and definitely a way to pick up some extra yards and opened up a seam as it caused a little bit of confusion on the back end. But now we get to see Mark Toko and company go to work for Dakota.
It was a steady rain prior to the start of this game and is decreased to a drizzle at this point. We were down at field level, as you mentioned, prior to the start of this game. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of track this is. This is that field turf surface. You wonder if sometimes it might get a little slippery as there's a little swing pass out to Stepney. Stepney out across midfield and all the way up to the Ford 43. However, there is a flag on the play.
Stepney in. Solomon, the senior, is out due to an injury today. They're hoping to have him back by the end of the season, but it'll be Stepney getting the load of the carries back there for Coach Bauer.
We'll go against Dakota, so it'll back them up. Yeah, you mentioned Solomon 44 carries on the season, over 350 yards, but more importantly, 8 yards per carry. So that's a big blow to this Dakota offense, that spread offensive attack that's really high-powered, scoring a lot of points coming into the ball game here tonight.
48 points a game. They're ranked first in the MAC Red, and that's quite a feat. And it starts under center with Mark Toko. Mark Toko considers himself a Johnny Manziel-esque player, and his dad, as his dad says, without the off-field issues, obviously, but can run, can pass. He's a dual-threat quarterback and really the tone setter back there for the Cougars.
And he's really good on the run as well, throwing the ball. So a dual threat. And his hand up. Stepney once again, and he's going to get the majority of the carries here tonight. Stepney, you mentioned the sophomore, 11 carries on the season for 96 yards, a clip just over 8.5 yards per carry, and a long of 52 and a couple touchdowns. It's really not a huge step down with having Stepney in the backfield for Dakota.
They're definitely deep in the running game, but it starts with those 5 big boys up front, a very good old offensive line, a veteran squad up there, and that sets the tone for them.
Handoff up the middle over midfield. It's going to be number 4, Austin Morrison, over and across the first down marker into Ford territory. They'll mark him down at the 46-yard line.
Morrison, a senior, he's the other guy you'll see back there with Stepney. They expect to go. You'll probably see Stepney and Morrison hand in hand going in and out of that backfield.
And Morrison, a big back, 6'1", 180 pounds. Offensive line quickly up. 4 wide receiver set. That's that spread look that Dakota will give you. Ford comes out with 4 linebackers to try to stop it. The pass a little high in and out of the hands of Brandon Michalak, the talented wide receiver up top there for Dakota. And you mentioned just how good Toko is, number 2 in the state of Michigan in passing yards, and Brandon Michalak, number 2 in receiving yards. So that's his go-to target. We'll see a lot of Michalak and Toko here tonight. And more importantly, they wear 1 and 2 on their jersey backs.
11 touchdowns, important no interceptions there for Toko this season thus far, matching his numbers already from last season, about 1,200 yards through the air, just shy of last year's mark as well.
Play action fake, Toko to the bottom of your screen. DB slipped down, completion out to Gabe Matta. Matta across the 18-yard lines and finally out of bounds.
Had a good concentration there to reel that pass in, stop. He saw the pass before him. Michalak went right through his hands. We mentioned it at the top of this broadcast. It's raining. The field conditions are wet. That ball's going to be slippery. Matta took his time, zoned in on that ball, and waited until he brought it into his chest to make that football move.
Hunter Ostentowski in on the stop, and Adam, really important to note that this Ford defense is without a playmaker in Evan Platts. We saw him in that Lance Cruz North game. He's out with an arm injury, and that's a big blow to this defensive unit. Defense steps up there. Nick DiDonato. And Mason in there as well for Ford.
Yeah, that's the linebackers causing penetration from the Utica Ford. That's the start of their defense. That's the rock in the middle. They have 3 linebackers in Mason, George, and Ostanowski that are three guys. They started, all 3 of them started last year, and they're back on Utica Ford starting again on this defense. They're the ones that this run stop will have to start with, and they're going to really have to slow down this Dakota run game. And they're going to get this ball in the air for Toko. The wet conditions will play in their favor if that's the way, but it starts with stopping this run game.
Line of scrimmage is the 21. The line to gain is the 9-yard line. So a second down and 12. And they will hand off to the left-hand side. Stepney plows ahead. A good, healthy gain there on second down will bring up a 3rd and manageable for the Cougars.
Outside of this play before last, almost every single play, Dakota's moving this ball 5-6 before that running back's even touched. This offensive line is 5 yards down the field, creating that push, making way, and it's making it very easy for Morrison and Stepney to start this off.
And head coach Greg Bauer talked to us on our preseason preview show just how excited he was about this offensive line. He says not only are they big, but they're athletic, and they're moving some guys down there right now. Toko in that shotgun set, sends a man in motion to his right. Steps up and hands off. Stepney to the 5, carrying some momentum over the goal line. Is he in? No indication yet. And they're going to say he was down just short of the goal line. So big burst there by Stepney. Gets taken down at the 1-yard line, where Dakota will have it. First and goal to go.
He cruised right up to that goal line, but it seemed like he lost his footing as contact was made by the defenseman on about the 5-yard line, and he tripped, fell, and that knee touched just before the line.
3-back set this time. Stepney along with Darden Davis, and Toko's just going to push ahead. QB sneak. And they will say touchdown. Toko on the carry, his third rushing TD of the season, gives the Cougars the early 6-0 lead.
Mentioned it earlier, he's a dual threat quarterback, and how about this Dakota offense? You know, you're going to drive down the 50, 60 yards, and you're going to show spread the whole time, and then you're going to stack 11 in the box, tackle between tackle, and 3 backs on the line. This Dakota offense will come at you a lot of ways with a lot of different, very good weapons, showing why they're deservingly ranked within the top 20 of the state.
Wait the extra point. Snap is good, the hold is good, and the kick is through. So a 7-17 now remaining in the first quarter. The Cougars out in front 7-0, a very methodical drive. 59 yards in total, and just kind of what we expected out of this Cougar offense.
This Cougar offense is an absolute machine, just so many weapons coming at you every way, and they just about showed everything but the kitchen sink to Utica Ford on that. 4 wide receivers stacked to the high side in that spread, 2 split on both sides. Then they show the stack down on the goal line. Just so many different varieties, and Coach Bauer does a great job. He's also the offensive play caller for this Dakota team, knows what he's doing. It's a high-flying offense. It's going to take a lot to slow him down. This Utica Ford, they pride themselves on their defense. Again, we mentioned it in the pregame. 3 takeaways against Fraser last week. This defense is going to very quickly have to figure out how to even just slow down this Dakota offense.
One player offensively for Henry Ford that's going to be a difference maker. Tavion Thompson, number 14 in white. He's one of the 2 men deep for Ford. And he's kind of an all-purpose player for them offensively. For an offense that's really, at times, struggled to score points.
Watched him against Lance Cruz North. Really couldn't move that ball for that entire first half.
Gabe Mata kicks it deep. It's going to be number 30. Alex Wells, the running back, muffs the kick, picks it up. Able to get some positive yards out of this kick return up to the 28-yard line. Dodging a bullet there early is Henry Ford.
And then he's going to run over Brad Clark at about the 30-yard line, 32-yard line. That's a 6'2", 175-pound wide receiver that he just absolutely barreled over. But you mentioned those wet conditions. Again, playing a factor there on that slip on the ball. It's slick out there. It looks like the rain's even picking up a little bit from a couple minutes ago.
So it's going to be Chance Kirkwood, senior quarterback, 6'3", 190 pounds. Kirkwood also plays a little bit of safety in that pistol formation. 3 wide receivers set. They send Austin, and let's see here. Flags and a whistle, and they're going to say a false start. So bad exchange there for Ford, and they get bailed out by their own offensive penalty.
Again, that's those wet conditions, but that's a mistake Utica Ford off the bat. You don't want to start down one 1st and 15. Likewise, as this is a very good offensive team for Dakota, they're equally good on defense, and they can come up and get their stops.
It's a Dakota team defensively that has gotten a lot better. You look back at what they gave up last season. There's a whole heck of a lot of points. That's something they prided themselves on and having to get better at. Surrendered 280 points last season defensively. That was the most given up by the program since 1997. And there's Wells lowering the shoulder as he rumbles all the way up to the 46-yard line. So a big 22-yard gain there by Alex Wells.
Alex Wells, not a big boy either. He's listed at 5'7", just 165, but he's got that very quick first step, and that's where it helped him there. Was able to turn the corner at the 40 and step it up towards midfield.
This is a Ford team you would expect will just want to pound the football here tonight, really limit the possessions for Dakota and keep that talented Dakota offense off the field.
Number 30, Alex Wells on the
It's going to
carry.
be Wells again.
Brought down by number 33, Jeremiah Major.
Wells just short of midfield. They'll mark the football down at the 48-yard line. And talking to the Ford coaching staff, including Tony Smith prior to the start of this game here tonight, he just said to us that they're just decimated by injuries.
Yeah, they got about 5 guys sitting on the bench over there on that Utica Ford, down to about 30 on their roster. He said it was an absolute patchwork on both sides of the ball. But these kids, they fight hard, they work hard, and they're here to try to win a ball game.
So another procedural penalty.
Looks like the whistle broke from the linesman right there. That's Mark Maxwell on our near sideline.
Another false start, and this is something we saw out of this Ford team when we broadcasted their game against Lance Cruz North. A lot of the momentum on some of these drives were stalled out because of offensive penalties.
And this is a team in a difficult position. Obviously, Tony Smith coming in as a first-year coach after the scenario with their previous head coach. It's a team that, and they're going in through the absolute gauntlet, the start of the gauntlet here, but playing in the Mac White and their red crossovers are very tough. So this team gets no breaks, and that's just something they're lacking on the offensive side, is the discipline.
Kirkwood looking to air it out, and will just airmail this pass as he misses just about everything. Yeah, you mentioned that gauntlet. After this game against Dakota, they'll return home to face Grosse Pointe North before going on the road to face another Mac White opponent in Warrenmont before finishing the season with that Mac Red crossover with Utica Eisenhower. So there's not an easy game on this schedule, especially for a team that has to win out in order to qualify for the playoffs.
And that's seen Lance Cruz North and Grosse Pointe South earlier in the season as well.
Yep, dropping both of those league games. Their only league victory is over Utica. This is a Ford team that hasn't had a lot of success, especially when it comes to the playoffs, only qualifying for the playoffs twice in the last 10 years. Kirkwood able to escape a little bit of pressure, but just too much Dakota as the tackle comes from behind. Orlando, big number 56, applying the final tackle, and that Ford drive will stall out at the 40-yard line where they will have to punt the ball away.
Cornerbacks locked up the Ford wide receivers downfield, but Kirkwood had some time there in the pocket, was back there 6-7 seconds before it finally broke down. This offensive line, undersized, but they're doing a good job so far.
Terrace puts the right foot into it, a low spiraling kick. Fielded at the 25 and immediately brought down at the 29, but a penalty flag comes out. Matt Love on the punt return, and early indications appear that this is going to be on the tackle, perhaps a face mask or a horse collar.
One thing we do see from Utica Ford, wins, losses, their special teams unit is very good, especially on these punts. Got an absolute boot, and in terms of field position, that can be very beneficial. And this is what Chippewa Valley did to Dakota last week, was every time Dakota had the ball, they're pinned deep back behind their own 30. If you got to drive 70, 75 yards every time, your offense is eventually going to wear out, and that's a good job. Special teams, you're going to give your defense a chance.
And penalty will actually go against Dakota, blocking the back. Flag came out late, right as a tackle was made, so I apologize. I thought for sure that it was going to be a penalty on the tackle. So this backs Dakota up to the 14-yard line as the rain continues to fall. It's actually gotten heavier at him. As Toko just kind of flips one out. Plenty of green on that far side all the way up to the 37-yard line. Flag is out once again. Another penalty on the play.
The cornerback, excuse me, optioned off the wide receiver Marola there, and the linebacker had picked him up, but I saw as soon as they switched off and the Marola took a step back, you saw a screen before the ball was even snapped. That linebacker just wasn't quick enough to get out there, and Marola was able to push it upfield. But it doesn't matter.
Yeah, this one's coming back.
It's like every coach on the Dakota sideline has their hands up.
Ball marked on the 9-yard line, so a 5-yard walk-off penalty. We'll make this 1st and 15 as the rain really coming down now.
The thing is, too, Dakota's got an advantage right now, but it is blowing sideways. So at Utica Ford, they're looking at it in their face mask right now. They're absolutely getting the brunt of this rain.
And the wind definitely at Dakota's back right now offensively. So you want to get out in front, which they've already done. Ooh, going up and grabbing that one down. Number 1, Brandon Michalak climbs the ladder to snare that one out of the air.
He was double covered up there. Graham Mason, a senior linebacker for this Utica. I mentioned him in the last drive for Dakota, but a veteran player. Nice wrap up on there, but Michalak can go up and grab it like that. It's a tough time, but that's showing why he's number 2 in wide receiving yards in the state this year.
Kind of came up hobbling just a bit. It appears to be okay. He's at the very top of your screen. The spread offense attack. Toko, 2-step drop, feels some pressure. He's going to get brought down. And did he fumble? Did the ball come out? Nope. QB sack. Good pressure that time applied by Ford. And it'll bring up a 3rd down.
Nathan George, the other one on that linebacking squad. They got 3 guys. It's definitely a trio back there, but coming on off the edge, that tight end just blew right by him and came on the back of Toko. But good job by Toko. Took a step forward as he felt the man, felt he was going to get wrapped up, and only a couple-yard loss versus where it could have been 10. Toko, when he falls back, even though he's out of the shotgun, he doesn't really take a step or 2 back. He's only about 5 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Chest high snap to Toko, looking to go deep. Got a man outside, can't run underneath it. He was looking for Michalak once again, so the Ford comes up with a 3 and out, and will force Dakota to punt. Dakota taking a shot downfield, looking for that home run ball.
Absolutely, and Michalak, you see him hobbling there. He's hobbling off the field. About 3/4 of the way to the sideline, started limping, and then he walks off. So looks like he's going to have a seat on the bench. We'll keep an eye on that for you. But good job, Utica Ford stands a chance on the defensive side.
Desperate need to get off the field, and mission accomplished, and get that offense back out there to try to score some points. It's a short kick. Gonna bounce at the 46 and get down right there. Stepney, the Cougar, it downs it, so really good starting field position here for drive number 2 for Ford.
Defense answered the call that time for the Falcons. Let's see if the offense can pick up their defense here and try to get something going on offense. Keep that last drive, as we mentioned, they got a couple 1st downs. Then it stalled out. If this offensive line can keep that push, Utica Ford will be in business.
It's a Ford offense that averages 29 points per game in victories and just under 3 points per game in losses. So it's been tough sledding in some of those crossovers and when they face some tough competition in the MAC White. Yeah, they were shut out by Grosse Pointe South 28-0 in week 2.
Alex Wells goes down in the middle of the huddle.
He sure did. He is the Falcon down, and
I can't imagine what's running through Tony Smith's head right now.
This is an offense that can't afford their starting tailback to miss any time. Alex Wells, one of those senior captains offensively for them, is Coach Tony Smith, as well as the athletic trainer. They're grabbing a hold of his leg.
Tony might need you to throw on some shoulder pads and get out there and hop in the backfield.
Yeah, we mentioned they're down to about 30 healthy players on that Ford sideline, and you take a look at this near sideline here and all the blue jerseys for Dakota. Depth is not an issue for Dakota. The numbers are quickly decreasing on that Ford sideline. You just hope maybe they're just stretching Wells out. While they tend to him, why don't we quickly take a break here on MTJ? When we come back, Ford will continue their offensive possession.
Looks like just a cramp. He's up, he's jogging off.
You ready?
Yep. He's got to sit out of play.
Well, good news, Adam. Alex Wells appears to be okay. He jogged under his own power off the field, and this Ford offense will go back and replaced in the lineup by Frank Stoltz. His handoff comes to Stoltz. He works out that right edge, picks up a couple, but not much.
Definitely a different look with Stoltz in the backfield compared to the 5'7", 165 of Wells. Stoltz is listed at 6 foot 220 fullback size there from Stoltz.
Number 26, Anthony Allen. Gave a couple on the play.
So we'll see how long Wells will have to sit.
For the Falcons.
So it brings up a 3rd down and 6 to go. Line to gain is the 35. This Ford really looking to take advantage of this good field position. Chance Crawford in the shotgun. 3 wide receiver set, drops back, rolls out to his right as a receiver downfield, but nothing available to him. Terrific coverage on the outside by that Dakota secondary.
This is Dakota secondary. Their one objective every single game, they can try to keep every single play in front of them. They don't give up the deep ball. That's the one thing on this defense. They'll give you those tic-tacs, those knick-knacks in the middle, a couple yards here, a couple yards there, but they're not going to give you the deep shot.
Jeremy Terrace now back at his own 45.
One thing we haven't seen him do is an accurate punt. He's always so deep on the field, he just has to boot it. We'll see what he can get here.
Marola and Love deep for the Cougars, and it's going to be Love who fields this on the 2-yard line, turns it upfield, slips down at the 7-yard line. So we mentioned it's a cool night. It's raining. Some would say this is perfect for football. This is football weather.
Summer's definitely gone, that's for sure.
Yeah, how quickly things change here in the state of Michigan. 2 weeks ago it was 90 degrees, and tonight upper 50s and pouring down rain. And Big Ten country, Big Ten weather, and exactly what you want here in week 6 of the football season as Toko comes back out along with his high-powered Dakota offense, already leading 7-0. Toko, the only points of this ball game on the QB sneak, 1-yard plunge in the end zone. This is the 3rd drive now for the Cougars. Straight ahead comes the handoff up to the 15-yard line.
Number 4 on the carry, Austin Morrison. Brought down by number 4, Hunter Osakowski.
So Austin Morrison, senior running back, the last carry for Dakota. Bring up a 2nd down and 4 to go. More than likely will be the last play of this first quarter. Ford showing blitz. Up the middle once again. Morrison across the 25 up to the 26-yard line. So back-to-back carries for the senior. That's that depth for Dakota. They can mix and match back there and really don't see much of a drop-off.
Yeah, mix and match with quality between Morrison and Stepney. You don't know who you're going to get. They both feature a little bit different. One's quicker than the other.
So Dakota takes the opening drive down the field and scores, and after 12 minutes of play, they lead it 7-0. We'll take a quick break here on Macomb Township Government Access.
Leah, did you put a new dent in that?
This one? No.
Were you texting and driving again?
Yes.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Dad.
Sorry about your bumper.
Welcome back to Dakota High School. Brad Fetters alongside Adam Abraham. Homecoming night here at Dakota. Home crowd, a lot to cheer about. And that first quarter of play as their Cougars have taken a 7-0 lead. Toko going to keep it himself, dragged down by the back of his jersey. Ford, good pursuit there on the outside. Number 27, Strowski, one of the Falcons out there.
One thing the Falcons have committed to on defense is they are not going to let Toko beat them with his feet. Every time he's tried to slip out, a couple times he's been in the pocket, they wrapped him up. But right there, you saw there were two maroon helmets there on top of Toko immediately. They got that spy on the linebacker. It's one of the three we mentioned earlier. They're going to make Toko beat him through the air. They're going to make one of the running backs do it. They're not letting him do it with the feet.
Toko hands off this time. Breaking the first tackle. And more out across midfield. Stepney all the way to the Ford 35. Puts on the speed burst. And he is one of those dangerous backs out there for Dakota. You can see stepped out of bounds at the 39.
And that's the elusive, Stepney's the elusive one that just broke two tackles in the backfield. He was wrapped up by that defensive end and just ran straight out of it and then hits a stiff arm at the 50-yard line and pushes the safety to the ground. That got him the extra 10 where he then got bumped out of bounds. Great run by Stepney.
Stepney going to stay out there. They're going to ride the hot hand. Toko hands off to him once again. Straight up the gut. Kicks it out to the right side. One Falcon to beat. Cuts it back into the hash marks and cruises into the end zone for 6. What a run there by number 25, Dejivon Stepney.
That offensive line busted a big hole right up the gut where Stepney took it 10 yards, not even touched. He's already into the second level of defense, and then he's got the vision to go right, left, follow his blockers right down the end zone. Great run by Stepney.
Stepney, only a sophomore.
I think we're going to be hearing his name for a while around the state.
You best believe it. Gabe Maddock going to come in to add the extra point. Kick is up, and the kick is good. And just like that, the Cougars now lead it 14-0. Drive goes 92 yards, and Stepney carried the most of it.
Like, as you mentioned, following the hot hand, giving it to the hot hand. Stepney, just fantastic vision, very elusive, but he's a very good read of what's going on. Every time he's hitting those holes hard, and those holes are there because of this great offensive line. Coach Bauer talked about in his preseason interview how Toko, right before the first game, he took his all 5 offensive linemen out to lunch, treating those guys well because they do such a great job. Toko knows it. Stepney knows it. Everybody on this team knows it. Those big boys up front, they get down in the trenches. They go to work, and it's not cheap picking up a bill for lunch for 5 big offensive linemen.
Those guys like to eat, don't they?
It's paying dividends here for the Dakota Cougars. It's absolutely unstoppable in this ground game so far, and that's not really their MO. Their MO is through the air with Toko and being able to bust it out with that spread offense. No, they're pushing it right up the middle.
Stepney's 3rd touchdown of the year. And you just wonder if that's a little bit due to the fact that these weather conditions are less than ideal. You keep the ball on the ground, chew up a lot of clock, and so far Ford hasn't been able to stop them.
Absolutely. There's a reason no Big Ten teams or teams from the Midwest run a spread offense is because the weather doesn't dictate it. Dakota made the adjustments, and they're going to work on offense, up 2 touchdowns here.
Well, Michigan tried it under Rich Rodriguez.
Tried. Didn't succeed.
Trying to put a round block into a square hole. Ball fielded at the 9-yard line. Good cutback. That's Wells coming to this near side, looking for a block. Gets it to the 30. Some good special teams from Ford. As they look now for some instant offense, trailing by 14 points.
Important for Tony Smith and company over on the Falcons sideline. Wells on that run, at least there, looked a lot better, and he's going to be in to start off this drive for the Falcons, who now have the rain at their backs.
Yeah, the way they were stretching him out right at midfield, it appeared to be cramps. And we saw that a couple weeks ago, a lot of guys going down because of the weather. Obviously, this is not a weather issue here. But Wells going to stay out there in the backfield. He will take the handoff, looking to make that first man miss. Not going to happen. Jack Murray for Dakota in on the stop.
Just a missed block there. Murray ran into the backfield untouched and wrapped up Wells 3 steps out of him touching the football.
So Wells loses 1 yard, and 9:35 remaining in the second quarter. Dakota out in front 14-0. Chance Kirkwood taking his time getting this play in. Took a run all the way over to their sideline. Offensive line looking back, and Kirkwood finally breaks the offensive huddle. Ostentowski out wide along with Tyler Lewis. Lewis at the very top of your screen. And it's going to be Wells again, bottled up in the backfield. Ball came loose, and Dakota has it. That's a big takeaway there for this Dakota defense. And another big blow to the Ford effort here. As that wet ball springs out, and the Cougars fell on it.
Give credit to that front 4 of the Cougars. There were 4 silver helmets, on top of the football, immediately wrapped them up, and there's no way. They might have gotten that ball out of the exchange from Kirkwood to Wells, but fantastic job by the defensive unit. Get the ball right back to Toko's hands. I don't think I've ever seen a defense strip a ball as quickly as they did right there.
It happened so fast that I didn't realize it even came out at first. Finally saw the referee signal Dakota ball. Toko fakes the handoff. Was looking for number 40, Richie Dunford. His tight end. He had Dunford open. Just had to rush his pass a little bit.
Nathan George, the senior linebacker, only stands at 5'10", 150, but there he was able to make some noise and rush that throw from Toko, which just got it offline just enough to be able for it to fall incomplete. Stack set here for Dakota.
Handoff this time goes to Austin Morrison. Stacked up and brought down by that Ford defensive line. So pickup of a pair will bring up a 3rd and 8 for the Cougar offense. 8:40 remaining in the second quarter of play. Two wide receivers to Toko's left. He will look that way. Ball slips out of his hands, and he's going to have to fall down on it at the 35-yard line. So as he wound up to throw that football downfield, the ball just slipped out.
Wound up to throw it to a wide open Michalak on this near sideline. Had his cornerback beat by 3 steps. That's likely pay dirt for the Cougars. So luck falls on the side of the Falcons with that slip there. Looks like they're staying out for the play.
And Toko looking down at his wristband that holds all of his plays. They're going to go for it.
Might as well just on the outside. We were watching Dakota.
And this would be a 52-yarder straight into the wind, so they're just going to go for it. Got to get the ball to the 18-yard line. It's going to be 4th and 17. Toko looking deep. Got a receiver wide open. Going to have to adjust to bring this one down as one of the officials slipped down as well. Was looking to go up top there to Lewalski. So it falls incomplete, and Ford will take over at the 35-yard line.
And again, Toko had his man. Lewalski beat his cornerback by 3-4 steps with that ball underthrown by a couple steps, allowed the defender come back and swat that right out of the way. Didn't even look at the ball, stuck a hand out and tipped it to the side. Toko just a little bit short on that one. Toko a little bit off today, and again, the weather's going to play a factor in throwing the ball, but a couple missed opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to be number 24, Stoltz. And just buzzing to the football. This Cougar defensive attack not giving up an inch.
Brought down by number 12, Ross Lewalski. With the help of number 33, Jeremiah Major.
Ford offense averaging just over 13 points per game and already given up 14 points in this game. It's going to be an uphill climb for Ford.
As the weather conditions just seem
deteriorate.
to be decreasing, deteriorating, whatever you want to say. We thought before the game when we came into the booth that it wasn't even going to play a factor.
Looking for some running room. Stoltz out there. Just trying to find a hole, and nothing opened up for him. So he picks up a couple. And it'll bring up a 3rd down and 8 to go.
8 in the box that time for the Cougars. They're starting to adjust their defense, realizing Utica Ford's going to try to keep it on the ground, and that's exactly what they should be doing in these kinds of conditions. But just play after play, Utica's just run into a brick wall.
It's going to be Stoltz once again. Nate Castillo to Kirkwood's right. Send Ostentowski in motion. High snap, gets it down. Stoltz plods his way through, up near the 1st down marker and across before it finally gets piled up there. So good hard run by Stoltz as he finally gets dragged down. Some extracurriculars after the whistle, but it'll keep the drive alive. Good pick up there for Ford.
Okay, especially when Stoltz is making contact with the defensive line at the line of scrimmage, breaks through them, contact with the linebackers, a spin move by the big man, and able to crush across to the 1st down. That 1st down's courtesy of Stoltz, and not a whole lot of help there for him, but he got the job done.
It's a Ford offense that's really been limited. They haven't had many 1st downs, so to keep this drive alive right before halftime, as well as goes out to his left and picks up one. Got to keep that momentum alive and got to keep this drive going. 4:50 remaining in the 2nd quarter. They will get the ball out of the halftime break. So important here for the Falcons to score some points.
And linebacker Jeremiah Major, the senior 6', 240 linebacker, he's the leader on this Dakota defense, making contact there at the line of scrimmage. That's 3 in a row. He's busted down the running back, except for that one run over Stoltz. That's someone who definitely is a playmaker for Dakota.
And Major, one of those 4 captains, as well as takes the handoff this time. You mentioned Dustin Solomon out for Dakota, Evan Pletz out for Ford, and no excuses for either team. They know injuries happen throughout the season, but 2 major players for both of these squads.
Absolutely, but when you're looking at enrollment 3,100 to 1,900 for Utica Ford. Dakota, of course, has the 3,100. Biggest school in the county. Definitely accounts for a depth issue, or courtesy of being the depth is having that many students in your school. Naturally, you're going to have more kids want to play football.
And Tony Smith admitted to us prior to the start of this game, that was case in point. He said 1 injury, okay, we might be able to get by. 2, starting to pile up, but 3, 4, 5 injuries to his starters. He just can't compete with the likes of Dakota because he just doesn't have the depth. So an incomplete pass there on 3rd down will bring up 4th and 5 to go from the Dakota 49. And they bring out Jeremy Terrace to punt this ball away and try to pin Dakota deep.
Falcons are in trouble. That's probably the 4th throw by Kirkwood, and 4 of them have not even been close to his wide receivers. Just miscommunication or something on the part of his wide receivers. They're going to have to figure that out.
A terrific kick as it's going to take a roll over the goal line for that automatic touchback. So 4 possessions for Ford resulted in 3 punts and a fumble as they turn it back over to Dakota.
3:23 on the clock here right before halftime. Coach Bauer talking to his squad, see if Toko can get something going. Enough time, all 3 timeouts in Bauer's back pocket. And Dakota's definitely the kind of school and the kind of team that they're going to go after you in this 3:23. That's enough time for them to get downfield. They're going to try.
And keep that gas pedal down.
Equally important, the Falcons cannot allow that to happen right here.
Toko turns, hands off.
Number 25, Javion Stepney.
Stepney once again.
Tackled by number 52, Nathan George.
Dakota quickly gets up to the line of scrimmage.
Short gain on the play for the Cougars over on 2nd down.
Tight end split out. They're going to run that way. Stepney out to the 35-yard line, pushed out of bounds. Stowski with the tackle.
That's a bonus of being able to, or running a spread offense system, is that when you get into the 2-minute drill, when you get into a hurry-up offense, it's a lot easier. It's just more natural to be able to quick on the line, because a lot of these spread offense you see from beginning stages of football all the way up to the NFL, you know, it's quick football. They're able to move it.
And you got a really smart quarterback out there as well as Tokyo, point guard of this offense. He's familiar with that position, isn't he?
Of course, he played behind Jackson on the basketball team.
Oh, bad snap. Toko able to pick it up momentarily and will just go down with the football at the 29-yard line. So bad exchange that time between center and quarterback.
Ball hit the turf, and Toko smartly, he picked it up, was looking to run with it, and looked forward and saw 5 white shirts just fell right to the ground. It's a smart play, especially given this scenario. They were looking at 2nd and long.
And don't want to turn the ball over to Ford with that short field. Really could change the momentum in this game. So obviously the weather playing a huge factor in this football game already, as we have just 2:10 remaining in the 2nd quarter. Steady driving rain as Stepney looking for that edge on the far side of the field, finally hauled down at the 40-yard line. Good pick up of about 11 yards on the carry.
It sets up a 3rd and manageable for Dakota as the clock hits the 2:02, just about to fall under 2 minutes. Looks like they're going to mark him a little bit shorter than where we saw him slid out of bounds.
Line to gain is the 45-yard line. Toko remains in that shotgun position, sent a man in motion, and that's what the penalty is going to be on, as they sent Lewalski out. Toko kind of faked the handoff to Lewalski. Got the Ford defense to jump offside. So they go from 3rd and manageable to 3rd and short, 3rd and 2. 2:01 remaining in the second quarter. Toko. Stepney. Around a block there from Michalak. Too easy right now for the Cougars.
Stepney's got such a good jump cut, and that's exactly what it is. Planson just so elusive on that. Comes up, he's going right, and can immediately change direction to the other side, and that's what makes him so good on these outside misdirections. When he's following a blocker downfield, blocker goes left, he can immediately cut right and cut upfield. In that situation, blocker went right, he came left and touched the sideline, was able to get out of bounds.
Yeah, Stepney not a between the tackles runners. He's like the stretch guys. There's another bad snap. Toko falls on it once again. So obviously this is something that's going to play a factor throughout the rest of this game, as Dakota will finally call a timeout with 1:38 remaining in the first half of play. And Coach Bauer furious at his squad right now.
And I'm not sure if he's yelling at the center or Mark Toko. And it's just that's what, the third time we've seen that happen. It's given the weather conditions, yeah, you can give it that all day, but that many times in a drive, to Coach Bauer, it's inexcusable.
Typically you would say, well, line them up under center and make that exchange between center and quarterback a little bit easier, but this is a Dakota team that's that spread offense. I don't think they have any plays in their playbook that are built under center.
I was just going to say that I don't even know if they can run out of the eye or whatever they want to do. It's just a spread offense, and you gotta anticipate something like this. You know, they got the same access to the internet we have. They knew it was going to rain. They had to be prepared for this.
Yeah, weather forecast showed rain from about 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock. So this is a front that's not going to move out of here quickly, as majority of the stands have the umbrellas out, the fans prepared on this homecoming night. Not exactly the type of weather you want to be bringing floats out onto the field, but Morrison, the tailback, on that carry. 90 seconds left. Bring up another 3rd and long for the Cougars. Enjoying a comfortable 14-0 lead. A couple rushing touchdowns for Toko and for Stepney. And once again, this is going to be Morrison at far side. Clock will stop momentarily for them to move the chains. Ball marked down at the 32-yard line.
There you go, that counter on the outside. They're just letting these outside tackles, both left and right, in these tight ends. This is going to be a run left here.
Yep, Morrison once again. It's becoming quite predictable as Morrison refuses to go down. Picked up a couple on that second effort, and a quick timeout called by the Cougars sideline.
Predictable doesn't matter, though, when it's working, when you're able to force your will down a defense's throat, which is essentially what's happening here. These 5, 8, 10, 12-yard runs just nonstop, able to – have they thrown the ball once on this drive?
No.
They have not in 2 minutes. About 2 minutes off the clock, and they're able to take almost the entirety of the field, about 25 to go until the end zone. That's a fantastic job by your offensive lineman and your running back.
Really asserting their will here and just daring Ford to stop them. And Ford's loading up the box, and they just haven't been able to. Credit that impressive offensive line for Dakota. They've always had good offensive lines here, so that's saying something for Coach Bauer to flat out say that this might be one of his best offensive lines that he's coached in terms of athleticism.
And they're definitely, that's the thing, that's the key right there, is the athleticism. They're not just a bunch of big bruisers down there. They can move their feet, and they're getting outside of the hash marks. They're following these running backs 10 yards down the field, some of these plays, and it's just opening up great lanes. They're making Morrison and Stepney's job so easy.
Matt Lewalski, your wide receivers. Toko, his first pass attempt over the head of Michalak.
Toko's pass intended for number 1.
Utica still still respecting the throwing ability of Toko. There you saw doubled up on Michalak and Marola was on the deep route there. He was in the end zone and he had single coverage. There was a safety over on the other side. They have double coverage on the top side. So definitely still respecting that throw, but it's tough when you can't stop the run.
Toko brings the play in with them to the huddle. Quickly breaks it. Mata, the wide receiver at the top of your screen. Michalak at the very bottom. Luwalski in the slot. And they will hand off. Stepney looking for that edge once again. Good block outside by Luwalski. Stepney going to be just short of the first down marker. And it's going to be decision time for the Cougars with 45 seconds remaining in the first half.
That's going to be a 4th and short for the Cougars.
As Ford defense raising their hands up, hoping their faithful in attendance will make some noise for them as they look for a really important 4th down stop here. And a timeout from their sidelines. As they will want to talk this play over. Dakota facing a 4th down, 2 to go.
Kind of a surprising call here by Bauer, really going through the throat here. Brady Zarsetchler, the junior kicker for this Dakota team, he's pretty good. He booted in a 47-yarder with the clock winding down against Chippewa Valley last week, so he definitely has the lag. And we were watching him trying 55-yard field goals in the pregame. Missed a couple, but he booted one off the bottom crossbar. And to be able to have a kicker in high school like that, there's some lower level colleges that don't have kickers that'll even attempt that.
And Dakota has had 3 different kickers. They're 24 of 25 on extra points and 3 of 5 on regular field goal attempts. Longest of the season is 47 yards. Mata been handling all the extra points this evening. So 4th and 2, and there's Toko under center. This is where we saw him just plunge ahead on the touchdown scamper. Instead, he will hand off to Morrison. Morrison to the right side and down to the 17-yard line. Picks up the first down with just under 40 seconds remaining in the half.
Austin Mayer, the junior linebacker, caught an arm on the defensive line there and slowed Morrison up and was able to just enough for that other linebacker to wrap him up. Otherwise, he'd be in the end zone.
Stepney picks up that all-important block and carries his momentum into the end zone. His 2nd touchdown of the night, this time from 18 yards out. Gives the Cougars a 20-0 lead.
Cougars absolutely marched all over the Falcons, just run play after run play after run play. Didn't even have to go to the air, one of their strengths, and just followed Stepney and Morrison. And again, it's that offensive line just moving bodies. Utica Ford can't do anything on the defensive end to stop this run game.
Mata, 3rd extra point attempt. Nice job by the holders. That one clanks off the upright. No good. It was a questionable snap. Marola able to get it down, spun the laces, and just rushing that extra point just a bit. Extra point no good. It'll remain 20-0. So Stepney picking up his 2nd touchdown of the quarter. 80 yards. The drive covered. Dakota out in front 20-0.
And that's one of the few times in football you'll ever see a 2-minute drill that Dakota put together with exclusively the run game, not a completed pass on that drive, followed in the footsteps of Morrison and Stepney.
And drive covering 80 yards in about 2.5 minutes. Really impressive stuff. And Dakota coming off that loss to Chippewa Valley, as Coach Bauer was practice this week and shook his head and said, yeah, everything was fine. Trying to put the bad taste out of that loss out of our mouths, and good way to do it here on homecoming.
They're doing a very good job of it so far.
Number 5, Gabe Mata.
You can really tell the wind is whipping as the ball just fell off the tee there.
Straight into Mata on this kickoff.
There it goes again.
And somebody's going to have to hold it. No surprise, it's going to be the holder, Marola. It's a squib kick, bounce at the 40. It's fielded by number 3, Tyler Lewis. Driven down to the field turf right at the 30-yard line. So it'll be interesting to see here what Ford elects to do with just 23 seconds remaining in the quarter, knowing they're going to get the football out of the halftime break.
Good move on the kickoff to go with this little squib kick there. Not allowing this Utica Ford return game, which has been pretty good, to get anything going. And we'll see what they elect to do here.
Kirkwood out of the shotgun is just going to take a knee and head into the locker room with his Falcons trailing 20-0 after one half of play. It's the Dakota Cougars 20, Ford Falcons nothing. Adam, your thoughts on the first half of play?
Utica Ford's got to go into the locker room and figure out one way or another to slow down this Dakota running game. This game is a matchup of running backs right now. Neither of these teams can go to the air as the wind's even picking up even more as we go into halftime. But Tony Smith's got to figure out something for that run game.
Cougars lead at 20-0. We'll head to the break right here on MTGA.
Because of you, I felt hopeless.
I know it was a joke, but it still hurt me.
Because of you, I felt wanted and not alone in this world.
Because you said hi to me on the first day of school, I felt included, and I knew that I was going to be okay.
Today is the beginning of a bright new future for this country.
Live a life on my knees.
The voters are coming.
I am the savior. We are the savior.
Welcome back to Dakota High School. Brad Fetters alongside Adam Abraham, nearly set to go here for the second half of play. The Cougars out in front on homecoming, 20-0. Ford will have the opening possession of this second half after Dakota won the toss and took the opening kickoff and drive down the length of the field. Cougars out in front 20-0, 3 rushing touchdowns in that first half as they have put this game into cruise control. Ford offensively, no answers tonight for this Dakota defense. Ball sails over the goal line for a touchback. And we mentioned this Cougar defense just really struggling last season, surrendered those 280 points or most since 1997, but pitching an early shutout here tonight.
Yeah, only giving up 3 touchdowns a game there. That gives them second best in the MAC Red, third best, in the MAC Red behind Chippewa Valley and Romeo, who are the 2 teams they're chasing right now in the MAC Red. Very good defense, but coming out here at the second half, very dry game so far despite the weather conditions. Expecting the same thing.
That's Tavion Thompson, kind of an all-purpose player for Ford, coming off a really solid game in their win over Fraser. Thompson accounted for 135 yards and 2 scores in that game, and they just haven't been able to get him the ball offensively. They typically line him up in a wide receiver position. Kirkwood just hasn't been able to get him the ball.
And it's just because of the weather. I mean, it is still raining steady. It looks like it's maybe lightened up just a touch, but enough to be able to affect this game. Neither of these teams can get the ball in the air.
Wells to the right and just driven down in the backfield. The wind, thankfully, it was a pretty steady breeze throughout that first half, has really quieted down. What is left of the wind is blowing straight into this Ford offense to start the second half.
I mentioned a moment ago, it's been a dry game. It's been a wet game, but it's been dry in that neither of these teams can get the ball in the air. It's been a run game, and we'll see what kind of adjustments these two veteran coaches come out. Tony Smith obviously getting the ball first, looking to move it a little bit. It looks like Dakota has the answer for this run game now, and 2 very quick stops at the line of scrimmage.
And Dakota defense late to make their adjustments. Man on the outside, Kirkwood escapes the initial pressure, tucks and runs. He's got a little bit of a hole. He's got a bigger hole all the way out to the 45-yard line, 24 yards on the QB keeper. And a late flag comes out. And going to get a hold against Ford. So some absolute back-breaking penalties against this Ford offensive unit and stalling drives, and wipes out a first down there.
And I can hear Tony Smith yelling from the press box on the other side of the field about that. His quarterback was able to make something out of nothing and was able to finally make a play. I cringed at that when Kirkwood got close to the out of bounds. It's like, just run out of bounds, man. Cannot afford another injury, especially under center for Kirkwood. That's a dangerous play, but way to take it with his feet and make a big play. Try to make a big play for his team.
And backs it all the way up to the 5-yard line. This is going to be 3rd and 25. So 10-yard spot foul, and Kirkwood going to turn and hand off to Wells. Wells meets a couple Cougars, including number 33, Jeremiah Major, and Patrick Marola.
Major's been busy. We mentioned him in the top of the broadcast, but he's that leader, that captain in the linebacking core for this Dakota team. Another big stop. He's been all over the run game.
4th punt coming up for Jeremy Terrace. Good kicker. Fields this one at the 5, and it's partially blocked as it comes wobbling out. Takes a little bit of a falcon bounce all the way out to the 35-yard line. So terrific field position to start the second half for Dakota. And Ford's going to argue that, well, it was blocked at the line of scrimmage, so you can't advance that anyway.
Looked like on that bounce, though, Matt Love was out there for the special teams unit, had his back to the football, and it looked like it might have caromed off that back calf of his, just enough of a touch, and I think that's what Tony Smith saw on the same thing.
And they're going to say Dakota football, and special teams miscue cost them last week against Chippewa Valley.
And we have now lost the scoreboard here.
Yeah. So that'll be a momentary delay. Got to have an operating scoreboard in order to conduct a football game.
It looks like they only have the one scoreboard on the south end of the stadium. Of course, the welcome to Dakota, the message is still flashing across the top, but we lost everything else. Calling games for a while, I've never seen somebody lose a scoreboard in the middle of a game. Or
well, somebody must have unplugged it up here in the press box, perhaps. Hopefully it didn't short out with all this rain we've had tonight. No,
that's one of the ones where you look under the table and what did I kick?
Right, not me. And breaking the action. Let's talk about this Dakota offense. We talked about how well they've run the ball here tonight, but obviously Toko, a terrific starting quarterback for them. His numbers coming into tonight through the air as the scoreboard is finally up there. 51 of 81, over 1,000 yards passing, averaging over 20 yards per completion, 11 touchdowns. You mentioned no interceptions, and a QB rating of 146.2, Adam. A 158.3 is a perfect QB rating, so just under that perfect rating. Let's talk some trivia here. 7 quarterbacks have achieved the feat of having a perfect passer rating more than once. Can you name at least maybe 2 of those quarterbacks that have achieved that perfect passer rating more than once?
Active in the NFL in the last couple years, we'll go Brady, Manning, Breeze. And then looking back, we'll go, guys, we're going to go all the way back. We'll talk Bart Starr, although that statistic might not have been around back in those Packer days. And then we'll go Marino, Elway, Steve Young.
Well, you got a couple of them. Peyton Manning has done it 4 times. The other active quarterback is Tom Brady.
2 for 2.
Roethlisberger and Kurt Warner have done it 3 times. And then, of course, the guys you probably have never even heard of, because I've only heard of a couple of them, as Dakota will keep it on the ground here, include Craig Morton, Dave Craig, and Ken O'Brien.
That's about 10 feet over my head.
San Francisco 49ers are the only team to have 2 different quarterbacks achieve a perfect rating in the same season. Can you name those 2 quarterbacks?
No.
Steve Young and Joe Montana.
That was easier than I thought.
So analytics, getting involved in the game of football. The 158.3 perfect QB rating. Toko approaching those levels because he hasn't thrown an interception.
And Toko's a guy who live, eat, breathes football. Of course, his dad, Paul Toko, over on the sidelines as a defensive backs coach. And Mark Toko was on the sidelines 2007 in the state championship as the water boy.
Really? Keeping everybody hydrated.
I doubt there were many cramps out there if his work ethic is any on the football field reflection now of his life. I think filling up those water bottles pretty fast.
So 4th and short here. Dakota going to keep their offense on the field. 4th and 3, line to gain is the 25-yard line. Toko up under center. Ford showing blitz, bringing all kinds of pressure. Bouncing it to the outside, not going to get it. Stepney on the carry. So Ford bends but does not break. And a turnover on downs will give the Falcons the football back.
And some life over there on the Utica Ford sideline. Finally, the Falcons have something to breathe about. Of course, that big penalty cost them on this opening drive of the second half, but now they have an opportunity with the defense standing up to the Cougars. They got trounced in the first half by this run game. 4 straight stops, turnover on downs. Let's see if Kirkwood and company can have their defenses back and get the ball moving. 3-score game, you still have an opportunity here.
It's going to be Alex Wells and Kirkwood in the backfield. Nate Castillo out to the quarterback's right. Trips to his left. Kirkwood takes the snap and hands to Wells, looking for a hold. It's just not there. Hasn't been there all night. Stood up and sat down. Riley Orlando. Ford really limited in terms of passing here. Haven't really attempted many. And Kirkwood just hasn't been able to find open receivers. Just tremendous coverage downfield. Secondary for the Cougars, so good. Matt Love, Eric Reese on the outside. Fake the handoff. Kirkwood fires a fastball through the hands. His wide receiver, Thompson. And Thompson's that big play threat, and kind of ran that sweep with him to start this second half just to get the ball in his hands. This time they try the pass, and Kirkwood just hasn't been able to connect.
He's really the big-time player on this Utica Ford offense, and Tony Smith just going back to the laboratory, back to the drawing board, trying to figure out, get the ball into a playmaker's hand, hope you can open something up somewhere and get a score for your team.
3rd and 11 from the 26-yard line. Kirkwood looks over, takes a belt high snap, rolls out to his right, looking to go up top, double clutches, and Wells just dropped it out in the flats, and Kirkwood took a shot out there.
Yeah, it looked like that double clutch, that first pass, it looked like he was about to throw a bomb out there, and then when he double clutched, he saw the man and contact was made. The ball, his hand was already going forward, was able to readjust and throw it out into the flat to his running back just to be able to try to get it out in someone's hands.
So back-to-back punts to start this second half. Really nothing sustained, no sustained drives by Ford in this ball game. You look back at the opportunity they had on their second drive of the game, low snap, and Terrace now is going to spin out of a tackle, and he's just got nowhere to go, unable to get a punt off, and the Cougars bring him down inside the 10-yard line. So wet conditions playing a factor throughout, and it led to a bad snap, and Jeremy Terrace unable to get the punt off. So terrific field position here for Dakota as they are literally knocking on the door.
And there's nothing you can do if you're the punter Terrace in that situation. You just kind of got to roll with it. And unfortunately, there were 4 or 5 Cougars in the backfield when he finally was able to pick that ball up. But these wet conditions are just both sides. We've been seeing it on both sides. It's not just a Utica Ford thing. It's just hitting them right now a little bit more, and that was probably the most costly one.
Yeah, Toko has had a couple difficulties fielding snaps from the center. He's just had to fall on the football to avoid the turnover. This time he'll just turn and hand off.
Number 25,
Stepney dives left of center, trying to find a hole to squeeze through. Picked up 5.
For the Cougars.
Gonna leave Stepney on the field. Already 2 touchdowns on the night, gives his season total up to 4. Looking for the edge this time, nothing there.
How about that? Graham Mason been a difference in this game the entire time. Been a difference maker in that linebacking core again in the backfield of the Cougars to blow that one up, wrap his man up, and push him back and try to hold him from getting this first down and see if the Falcons can get another stop here in the red zone.
Dakota originally bringing out some size in the form of Jeremiah Major, 6 foot, 240-pound tight end, and bring him right back off the field and bring their wide receiving unit out, including Michalak, number 1, up top. Patrick Marola in the slot. Pocket collapses, and Ford brings him down. Hunter Osentowski. And number 52, Captain Nathan George.
Defensive coordinator for the Falcons, Mark Blitz, dialed up the blitz that time for the Falcons.
How apropos.
They sent 7 up at Toko and 3 maroon hats in the backfield. It looked like it was a screenplay as the way that Falcons got into the backfield so quickly, but it wasn't. There were 4 wide receivers, and no one was even halfway through their route before that ball was on top of them. Here they elect to go for it on 4th again.
They're going to have to hurry, and finally we get a timeout called by Dakota. Lots of confusion down there. So this really hasn't been a perfect game for Dakota, even though they lead at 20-0 with 3:53 remaining in the third quarter. There's a lot that they can look at in this tape and improve upon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the problem is the rain. Both teams have been sticking to the running game, but both teams have been able to work on the running game, and they both have had momentary success in it. More sustained on the Dakota sideline, but definitely something both teams can take back and look at.
And Dakota's going to go on the road for their next two, and it's going to be both league games and pivotal league games. If Dakota wants to stay in the hunt, they're going to go on the road and face Romeo next week, and then they'll go on the road once again the following week to take on a very good Eisenhower team that's probably better than their record indicates.
Yeah, absolutely. Eisenhower is always a force to contend with. Again, we talk about the high enrollment, but Eisenhower very sustained in their success in the MAC Red, and Romeo has come to play with the big boys this year in the MAC Red.
Good protection, floating one out, a diving catch. Does he have possession? He does. What a catch by Patrick Marola, the senior wide receiver. 22 yards on the pitch and catch.
Easy pitch and catch, 10-yard cut in. Easy for Toko to find his man on that big 4th and 19-yard play.
It's tough to see whether or not he had secured that ball as he made contact with the ground, but they, in fact, will say he did. And now Dakota, after missing the extra point on their last attempt, will go for two here.
It looks like the rain has just about all but stopped here. Maybe a light drizzle out there.
Toko rolls out to his left. Another fluttering pass, this time intended for Lewalski. So the two-point conversion is no good, and with 3:46 remaining now in the third quarter, the Cougars are all over the Falcons by the score of 26-0.
And again, we'll go back to Marola catching that ball. It was 4th and 19 play. Easy for Toko. One-step drop, had his man. It was a very good timing route, and they were clicking in sync on that. Easy dive in the end zone. That was a good throw by Toko. Small window there on the end zone as Marola was well covered, but they're able to, Marola's able to wrap that up. Concentration, able to focus on the ball and hold it, bringing it to the ground, especially when it's as wet as it is outside right now. That's a difficult catch to make.
So the bad exchange on the Ford punt resulted in short field for Dakota. Drive will end up going 13 yards after the sack and negative plays. And touchdown was good for 22 yards. So Wells, the return man once again for Ford. And you just think they've been really good this season on some of these kick returns. A big special teams play could possibly shift the momentum here tonight.
Thompson and Wells are the two deep men for the Falcons, and most certainly the two playmakers on offense for the Falcons right now. Here, Dakota, you're not kicking the ball to either of these guys.
And they will. And it goes through Wells' hands and over the goal line and out of bounds for a touchback.
Ball went out of the end zone. Falcons will take over 1st and 10 at their own 20.
Well, we saw Ford shake things up a couple weeks ago against Lance Cruz North. They pulled Kirkwood and brought in Evan Platts, number 7, who was a terrific playmaker for them defensively. He was all over the football field in that first half against LCN and comes into the quarterback position to kind of maybe provide a little bit of a spark, and he goes down with a pretty serious injury.
Yeah, and Tony Smith was talking to us for the game. It looked like an arm injury, and when they went in and examined the injury, it wasn't nearly as bad as they thought it was. And because his arm had spent so much time in the sling because of what they thought it was, and it just ended up locking up on him. And Tony Smith said he's hoping to have him back next week, but he's just not good to go today.
Terrific open field tackle by Matt Love, anticipating that pass into the flats, and he just blew that play up. And this Dakota defense really impressive here tonight. will certainly be a true test of this team's character the next couple weeks with those tough road games within the MAC Red.
Yeah, and having a crossover schedule, if you're in the white, we talked about this in the break, but the differentials between the MAC Red and the MAC White, when you're playing up in the MAC White, that's a tough schedule.
Wells brought down from behind once again. They're going to give Dan Chaudhry credit for the tackle. That's the Dakota team, obviously losing last week to Chippewa Valley to drop to 2-1 in league play. Romeo and Chippewa Valley off to those perfect starts, 3-0 in MAC Red play. Romeo facing Dakota next week, and Chippewa Valley has a home game against Sterling Heights Stevenson. So Dakota could play spoiler next week on the road. Pass across the middle. No surprise, looking for Thompson. About a no-fly zone here tonight.
Evan McQuarrie there to tip that ball, kind of gave a little bit of an angry fist pump after that one. Was hoping for the interception and just tipped out and high. But regardless of lack of interception, that's a tough ball to bring down, but good defensive play. If you can get your hand on any ball from the quarterback, when you're in front of a wide receiver, you're doing your job and you're doing it well. Good play by the young man.
Love and Marola deep for Dakota. High snap, gets it down. Terrace kicks it straight up into the air. It's going to be Love catching it at the 40, up to the 30. Across the 25 where he meets a swarm of white jerseys. So terrific field position once again for the Cougar offense. They have started all 3 drives of the second half in forward territory.
And that's just asking for trouble from the Falcons. Theirs looked like a little bit of a special teams miscue as the punt was booted, but it was so short. And it only got up to about the 40. There were 3 Falcons ran beyond Love, and Love was able to pick up the ball with the 3 up men behind him. He brought it upfield and got an extra 10, 15 yards on it.
.157 is all that separates us from the third quarter break. All Cougars here tonight leading 26-0. The only points of the second half belong to the Cougars. Led 20-0 at halftime. They're going to say backward pass that got deflected, and keeping this play alive, Stepney gained 16 yards.
And that's just the way it goes sometimes, and that's felt like the luck for the Falcons is this one. Just another play where you have 4 guys in the backfield wrapping Stepney up, but because of the kind of miscue of that play, they thought it was down, they thought it was a fumble.
Now the officials are going to talk this one over.
I think they had the call right on that first time. Nope.
They're going to say incomplete pass. It was clearly deflected.
There's a reason I'm up here in the booth and not wearing the stripes out on the field.
Well, you identified it as a backwards pass. And
why specialties calling balls and strikes, not?
If the ball hits the turf, then that's a live ball, but it was clearly deflected by Ford. It surprised me when they played on, and Dakota thought maybe, take advantage of this. Good heads-up play by Stepney to play until the whistle, but they will, in fact, say it's incomplete. Toko looking to go up top on the fade, and he connects. No surprise, Brandon Michalak on the receiving end of that touchdown pass. It's all Cougars all the time as they now lead at 32-0.
Simple business there. Toko to Michalak. They've been doing this for a while. Both of them number 2 in their state in their respective yardage categories, and that's just that's such a great weapon to have if you're Coach Bauer, to be able to, Toko, you're going to throw a jump ball into the corner to the end zone to the wide receiver, and he's going to go up and get it. Not a lot of teams have that kind of weapon.
The kick is good. So it'll extend the lead to 33-0. Toko's 13th passing touchdown of the season. And it's Michalak's 7th touchdown reception of the season. So there's something to be said about having a favorite target. And number 2 loves to find number 1.
Both of them standing at seniors, and they came up through the system together. Toko and Michalak undefeated as freshmen on the freshman team, undefeated their sophomore year on JV, and then they move up to their junior year, move up to varsity, both starters. So they've been connecting with each other for a while, and that just kind of synergy with the two players, you see it on a play like that where it's that play call is Toko to Michalak. There's no options, there's no read. That's a jump ball, that's a design play. And to have that in your back pocket is the reason they're in the top 20, and there's a reason this team is talked about to go to the state championship.
I'm sure Toko probably just looks at Michalak in the huddle and probably just gives him a nod. And those two know exactly what's about to happen. And who knows, Ford might even have known it too, but they just can't come up with any sort of stop. It's been impressive here tonight by Dakota. This offense put up 33 points, as good as advertised, I should say.
And we watched Michalak climb the ladder in the first pass of this game and that drive, and it shows the athletic ability to be able to go get that ball.
Well, he's getting multiple looks to play at the next level. And it should be no surprise if you've watched Brandon Michalak play. 6'1", 175, senior wide receiver. Terrific performance on that 25-yard touchdown reception. So Ford back to work, 4th possession of this second half. And they will put the ball in play at the 27-yard line. So Ford giving Dakota that short field, and Dakota has made them pay 2 touchdowns here in the second half. It's really opened up this game 33-0.
Not only that, this defense has stuffed the Falcons this second half as well.
Kirkwood driven down hard as he kept it there on that option read. Spilled down right at the 35-yard line. And no surprise, Major in on the stop once again. He's been all over the football field defensively.
We talked to Tony Smith about the injuries before the game. He mentioned that all this patchwork, and we talked about different players playing the quarterbacks. Talked about Kirkwood, and it got brought up, well, what happens then? And he goes, well, we're going 1st string to 5th string, so that cannot happen.
Yeah, it's a scary thought, I'm sure, for Ford, as they might have to maybe look at the JV ranks and hope somebody's making some moves there. Wells dragged down from behind. Pruchnik on the stop, and Wells going to go over to the sidelines. And he'll get spelled by Frank Stoltz. And they'll give Ford enough for the first down as we approach 30 seconds remaining here in the third quarter. Time potentially for a couple more plays. Stoltz lined up in Kirkwood's left pocket. He motions Ostentowski over. Ostentowski going to provide a little bit more coverage and blocking abilities for Stoltz. Stoltz looking to bounce it outside. Nothing available to him. Matt Love coming up from his DB position to make the tackle.
That's a big boy. That's a wide load down there in the backfield to be able to bring down. First contact made, and a second tackler came over to be able to wrap Stoltz up.
So that's how the third quarter will end. 13 points scored by the Cougars. They extend the lead now on homecoming. 33-0. Come back. Fourth quarter play coming up next right here on Macomb Township Government Access.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here's about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Cougars and Falcons have taken the field. Fourth quarter of play here at Macomb Township Government Access. Brad Fetters alongside Adam Abraham. All Cougars here tonight. They lead at 33-0, making for a fun homecoming night. Weather hasn't cooperated, but the football sure has been entertaining.
3, 4, 1, 7, 1.
First downs have been really hard to come by here tonight. Ford really has become one-dimensional. They haven't been able to complete many passes and had to do it all on the ground.
And there's the difference between these two programs is the second the rain let up, Dakota went back to the air. They back bread and butter is 50-50 on offense. That spread offense, they'll run and pass, they'll do them both, and they immediately went back to the air, but Utica Ford staying one, and now Dakota's really dialing in on stopping that run. We saw that last play, Stoltz ran into Major, and that's a lot of weight throwing back at each other, a lot of strength, two big boys.
Dakota staying with that man defense. And Kirkwood just going to keep it, lost control of the football, but that will not matter. Well short of the first down marker, and for the fourth time in the second half, Ford will punt the ball away. And even the punts here in the second half have not been easy. Ford has had one blocked. They had a bad snap on a punt as well. And Dakota is not going to put anybody back for this punt.
Expecting the fake.
And Ford will get it off and kick it into no man's land. And side judge will throw the beanbag right at the 32-yard line.
Cruise control here for Dakota. Not expecting them to go to the air, but you never know with these Cougars. Coach Bauer is someone who never lets up. We talked to him in pregame, trying to make mention of the white versus red crossover. This might be an easier matchup. Nothing given in. He respects all of his opponents, and the game's not over until that clock hits 0. So, but they can definitely ride this running game out between Morrison and Stepney. And when your run game's working, this is a huge advantage of when you're able to run the ball is 10 minutes left. There's no reason you can't run this clock out on the final drive.
It's going to be Austin Morrison in the backfield for the Cougars on this drive. We also have a quarterback change for Dakota. It's going to be Patrick Marola, who's seen some action at the wide receiver position as well as a defensive back. So they're going to preserve Mark Toko. He's got his work in. He's got his couple touchdown passes. So now they'll go to the relief pitcher, so to speak. And it's going to come in the form of Patrick Marola.
Michalak has also got his helmet off on the sideline, so his evening is likely done. But surprising, usually a situation like this, your relief pitcher, so to speak, is typically not a senior. Marola also a senior, but you also get the chance to give one of the older guys a chance to play. Obviously playing behind Mark Toko, not a whole lot of opportunity at this position, but getting someone some snaps. And it is high school. These kids still are playing for the fun of the game, so might make the kids' night on a senior being able to play quarterback homecoming. Mom and dad upstairs watching the game.
According to our stats, I don't think he has attempted a pass this season. I don't see anything. I see just Toko's name under the passing category, so maybe an opportunity here for him to uncork one. Sprints over to the sidelines. Gonna get the play call in. Substitutions aplenty. Thomas checking into the game, number 80 for Dakota. Gonna line up at the very top of your screen in this 3 wide receiver set. Marola doesn't step back at all, floats one up. through the hands of Brad Clark. Penalty flag on the play.
I think maybe some nerves on that one. Homecoming, fourth quarter, throwing the ball up. A little bit of a, not quite a full wounded duck, but a little bit of a hurt one. And
legal receiver downfield. That wasn't a 3-step drop. That wasn't a 5-step drop. That wasn't even a 7-step drop. That was a 0-step drop for Marola.
Just take the snap under center and
turn and chuck it. Yeah. That'd be my strategy. I'd be so scared of those D linemen running in. I would just hurry up and throw that ball out as quickly as I could.
I would do the same.
Can't say I blame them. So stay with Austin Morrison in the backfield along with Patrick Marola. Marola takes that low snap.
Same play.
Same play, you're right. In and out of the hands of the defender that time. Tavion Thompson, playmaker for them. Pass was intended for Brad Clark. It's not the greatest of relief performances out of Marola. They gave him the opportunity. You got to like that on your homecoming night.
And I'm sure we'll see him back out if Dakota gets the ball back, which I'm sure they will.
I think Toko is going to walk over to him and critique his performance at QB.
I can guarantee that's happening over on the sideline right now. Well, you never know what happens. Football's a wild sport. It's definitely a rough sport, so Marola, you never know. You never hope for injuries, but you got to be prepared if that situation arises.
Ball ends up spinning over the midfield stripe. It'll be marked down at the 47-yard line. Ford will put the ball in play. Can't anticipate any changes for Ford offensively. You would imagine Kirkwood's going to go right back out to the starting quarterback position because they, as we mentioned, they don't have anybody else to play the position. And in fact, it will be Kirkwood.
This is a situation Tony Smith is going to let his quarterback ride. You know, down 33-0. This game's out of reach for the Falcons. No, not an opportunity to win this one, but there is an opportunity to learn a lesson here.
It's going to be 52, the ball carrier. Nathan George, senior captain. We've mentioned his name throughout this game for his performance at linebacker, but he picks up a carry there, and that might be a new little wrinkle that Ford can add to the playbook.
And he's going to stay there in the backfield. If it's patchwork, throw him in there. You never know what's going to happen.
That's what these types of opportunities present, these MAC crossover games. Opportunity to try some new things. And it's going to be George again. And another penalty flag, and this one's going to be a hold.
How about that throw there from referee Ron Thomas? Flinging that flag 20 yards and hits Kirkwood in the head with the flag.
Well, the story Monday night is the rain picks up once again. The story Monday night was Matt Patricia loosening up his arm on the challenge flag.
What was that 21, 22 yards he got on that one?
Patricia might have learned that from Tom Brady himself, chucking that red challenge flag. How about the Lions? Their big win over the New England Patriots. Hopefully they can carry some of that momentum into this weekend's play against the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe pick up a little bit of a winning streak. Is that too much to ask?
Not too much to ask, but I wouldn't quite get your hopes up yet. It is worth noting that Jeremiah Major also is on the Dakota sideline with his helmet off, so the senior linebackers night is also done.
Frank Stoltz this time breaks a couple tackles, carrying a bunch of Cougars on his back. Gets it all the way out to the 46-yard line, so no give up in the Falcons here tonight, and that's got to be a positive sign for head coach Tony Smith.
Yeah, and there's always a silver lining. Coaching any sport, there's always a silver lining in these types of situations. You can take away, the final score is going to show Dakota winning the football game, but if you can piece together a good drive, that's something to take back to the film room on Monday, and that's something to take into practice next week.
Stoltz bottled up this time, however. And we mentioned things not getting much easier for Ford. They're going to return home to face Grosse Pointe North. It's a very winnable game within the league before going on the road to face Warren Mott, who we just found out is being beat right now by Chippewa Valley. And Grosse Pointe South seems to be running away within the MAC White.
Grosse Pointe South is just, they look so good. 101 points for, 10 against in the white, just playing up like they should be in the red this year.
Yeah, and they're facing a Anchor Bay team who's made that move up to the MAC Red. That's going to be an interesting game tonight. Grosse Pointe South playing that game at home. Not sure the results of that one, but that's a potential there for Grosse Pointe South maybe to beat a MAC Red school.
Number 52, Nathan George.
So Ford unable to move the football past the chain, so more than likely will punt the ball away once again here. This will be the lone game that we cover of Dakota on MTGA. We have one more game on our broadcast schedule. That's going to be L'Anse Creuse North taking on Utica. That's going to be a league game for both schools.
We talk about that Grosse Pointe South. They're actually knotted up in the fourth at 13 apiece. Coming in 4 minutes ago, the tweet about 10 minutes left to go in the going into the fourth. So we talk about those white-red crossovers. That's an Anchor Bay team, 0-3 in the division this year for the red. Grosse Pointe South obviously running away with the white, but that's a bottom-end red team hanging in there with a top-end white team.
That's that's an exclamation point, perhaps, if Grosse Pointe South is able to come away victors in that game. Thanks for the update. So Dakota back on offense. It's going to be Austin Morrison at far sideline.
Number 4, Austin Morrison on the carry.
He's done a terrific job in giving starting running back Stepney a break. Morrison, a little bit of a change of pace back, a little bit of a faster back perhaps. Dakota really has done a nice job of picking apart those edges on the ground. Marola looking for the dive play, nothing available there.
Austin Morrison on the carry. Brought down by number 54, Billy Lovell.
Now, unfortunately for Utica Ford, this will drop them to 2-4 on the season and just running out of games to be able to make the playoffs. Of course, you can get in at 5, but this year it's not looking like anyone's really going to be able to get in at 5. You got to get to the 6-win mark to be able to guarantee your entry into the state tournament.
Yeah, they had to win out starting here tonight. And we mentioned this is a Ford team as Morrison gets a handoff again. Look at that. Big burst of speed. Yeah, mentioned Ford has only made the playoffs twice in the last 10 years, and the last time they were able to do it, they did get in with a 5-4 record. So it can be done, and they're going to have to win on out from here and keep their fingers crossed.
This will make it, this score, if it holds up as we drop, got about 4 minutes left in the game, 10 straight, or this will be the 11th straight win for Dakota. The last win for Utica Ford coming back in 2006 when they beat Dakota 23-20.
Yeah, Dakota going to improve their all-time record against Ford to 15-1. So they have clearly had their way with Ford.
Number 4 on the carry, Austin Morrison. Brought down by number 27,
Chippewa Valley, that win last week over Dakota. I know Cougar fans are not going to want to hear it, but Chippewa Valley has now won 5 of their last 7 against the Cougars, including 4 straight. And I guess we can talk about it now, right, because this one's almost over. We can kind of turn our attention. This is week 6 to the playoffs. You know those two teams are going to match up again in the come playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the districts are set up by locality, so Chippewa Valley, Dakota will always be in the same district. This year it's looking like they're going to be 1-2. If they keep up what they're going on, I mean, obviously there's a lot of MAC Red play.
Morrison tiptoes the sideline. He's finally going to step out right about the 13-yard line. Good hard run by Austin Morrison.
As I was talking about, it's very competitive. Both Chippewa Valley and Dakota have to go to Romeo, or Romeo goes to Chippewa Valley, excuse me. Ike also left on the schedule. So these are powerhouses. None of these games are just signed away wins in the MAC Red. You got to come out here and compete. So when we're talking about these and projecting down the road, we're going to project based on what we've seen so far, but very well in Anchor Bay, Stevenson, and Eisenhower, Romeo. They're all there to win the ball games, and they're in the MAC Red for a reason.
And Dakota going on the road, we mentioned, next week to take on Romeo, and it's always a good game. It's always a strange place to play. Teams go in there and just get beat up. Romeo has always had a really good home field advantage in both football and basketball. It's kind of been a house of horrors for a lot of teams in the MAC Red. You go up to Romeo for whatever reason, and you just put up some stinkers, and Dakota is going to hope that doesn't happen next week. As you mentioned, Romeo and Chippewa Valley will also play each other in a couple of weeks.
Romeo's also a fun place to call games. It's a old football and basketball. It's a very old school feel, you know. You kind of you're out there a little bit to the west. You're out of the suburbs a little bit more, so it's that real small town feel. You got to drive over there where Dakota Utica, right down 21 Mile Road. We talked about Lance Cruz North, just 2 miles to the east of Dakota. I mean, all these schools are so close, so it's a drive. And to be able, you have to go out there and play those boys, and they're very good. They like their home cooking, and they love their football.
Yep, a team that's been in the championship mix the last couple years. Some late whistles as referees are going to try to keep control of this football game, as they don't want anything after the whistle to occur. Romeo winning that state title a couple years ago. Head coach is there for a while. Coach moving on to his alma mater, Alma. So Cougars looking to put the finishing touches, 1:20 remaining, separating them from moving up to 5-1 on the season. Rolla hands off to Morrison once again. Morrison evades a couple tackles. Got one man to beat. Gonna do it? No, dragged down from behind. A dangerous looking tackle. A touchdown saving tackle by Alex Wells.
No, given homecoming, we're under a minute to go on the clock, but absolutely is Morrison trying to punch that ball into the end zone, have a story to go and tell on for the rest of his life, is that he was able to punch in a touchdown on a big-time hometown win on homecoming.
He can brag to his buddies tomorrow at the dance. Ball marked down.
Probably a couple bonus points from his date as well if he's able to punch that one in.
Right at the 2-yard line. Let's see if he gets another opportunity here. They will be able to snap the football before the clock expires.
Looks like he's going to take a knee.
He's going to take a knee. And there's no point in running up the score, up 33 points, and that will do it. Dakota, impressive here on the 2018 homecoming game, as they will come up with a shutout victory over Henry Ford. The second final score, 33-0. Adam, your thoughts here on a homecoming night, a wet one?
Absolutely, and the weather played a factor. Unfortunately, that factor swayed in favor of Dakota. Some big-time miscues on the special teams from Utica Ford really cost them, but they could really never get that running game going. Credit this Dakota team. This run game and this offensive line, that offensive line is insanely good. They're big, they're strong, and they're athletic, and those three combined together is a scary thought. These boys can get downfield and make way, and That way you're going to be good in the pass block and even better in the run blocking game. I'm excited to see where this goes moving forward for the Cougars.
3 touchdowns on the ground in the first half, 2 through the air in the second half. Complete performance here by the Dakota Cougars on homecoming night, and they come away victors. Final score over Ford, 33-0. So for Adam Abraham, I'm Brad Fetters, and the rest of our hard-working MTGA Channel 5 crew, I'd like to say goodnight from Dakota High School. Once again, final score 33-0. We'll see you next time